Hello everyone, welcome to our last video of 2018. Hope you've all had a very Merry Christmas and that you have a very Happy New Year. How's our Christmas been, Sid?
It's been good.
Okay.
We've been doing a bit of getting up in the middle of the night watching WBBL, for which always thanks to Cricket Australia for making that available to us. And yeah, we've probably had too much to eat and drink just like everybody else.
Great.
So Raf, would you like a celebration?
Thank you. Oh, I appear to have pulled out a question because today's video will be largely a Q&A session. Partly questions that we've come up with based on the past year and partly questions that you have submitted for us to answer via Twitter. So, Sid, what was your favourite domestic moment of the year?
Well, I have to say that Lauren Bell's debut for the Southern Vipers was kind of the highlight of my year. I first saw Lauren play about 4 or 5 years ago. I saw her make her debut for Berkshire, and well, it'll be not true to say I've seen her grow because she was 6 foot something the first day we saw her, and she's still 6 foot something. But we've seen her come on, and to see her make her professional debut this year, she's only 17. It was just really great for someone that we've known for so long and that we've supported for so long, and she did really well, which was fantastic. And when she was running into bowl those first few balls, I was like as nervous as anything because I just so desperately wanted her to do well. But she did okay, and she's still on for the future.
Okay. Yeah, that was a really great moment. I think mine was probably Sophia Dunkley making a half century on the first day of the Super League, having just done an interview with her for The Guardian a few days before about how she was the next big thing for England, and so it kind of transpired as well during the World T20. But I think that innings in the KSL was what got Robinson's attention and got him to select her.
Yeah, that's what got her on the plane.
Yeah, so that was a great moment too. Okay.
Question to you, Raf. Oh, what's your favourite piece that you've written this year? What's your favourite thing that you've written, Raf?
Oh, I really enjoyed the piece that I wrote for ESPN Cricinfo, the Cricket Monthly, about the first ever Ireland Test match, which was the women's test in 2000 between Ireland and Pakistan, and it meant that I did interviews with several of the Ireland players who remembered playing in that test, and it was just it was really fun to research and it was fun to write, and I feel like it was a bit of an untold story that I managed to bring out into the open, so I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that was great.
Okay, cool. Have you got one or?
Well, my favourite thing that I've written this year is still yet to come, but I've written a thing for Wisdom next year.
Yay!
And I'm really pleased with what I've written, and it will be in Wisdom next year. That's the first time that I've had that. So
Sid's
that's
Wisdom
been really
debut. Cool. Awesome. Okay, next question. What was your favourite international moment of the year?
Well, it's interesting. It kind of correlates with your domestic moment, really, because I think my favourite moment was seeing Sophia Dunkley come in and do well in her first proper opportunity for England. Mm-hmm. Obviously, she played a couple of games. I think she played 2 games where she didn't get to bat, and on the 3rd game, she actually came in. And it was similar to watching Lauren play for the Vipers. Really, it was like, here's somebody that we've really backed. You know.
Yeah.
Are we going to end up with egg on our face, or are they going to show that we were right to back them? And I think that she did, and absolutely. I was really pleased looking at that from the outside. And overall, the whole St Lucia experience was really fantastic. I also really enjoyed the West Indies win over England. Not obviously England lost, but the crowd was just amazing, and the West Indies played out of their skins as they they took all the energy from the crowd, and it was all reflected into the middle, and they played out their skins, and that was a really great moment as well.
Yeah, it was really great to be there to see it, definitely.
What about you?
I think mine was Amy Jones hitting the winning runs to take England into the semi-final and into the final against Australia. So Amy Jones hitting the winning runs in the semi. And partly because of what it represented, which was England getting to the final, which I think was a really great achievement, seeing as they were without 2 of their best players. But also it felt like it was sort of the flourishing of Amy Jones, and for so long She's had the technique, but she's not quite had the she's not quite been able to translate that onto the pitch. Maybe a problem mentally, and just to see somebody that's such a lovely person, and somebody that we've watched for so long actually kind of flourish out there and really perform when it really mattered for her side. I think it was a great innings, very mature, and just been really impressed with her over the last few months. So great to see that.
Yeah, she's definitely kind of stepped up a level, and that is a real positive for England as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, what have we here? Oh well, 2019. What are you excited about going into 2019?
I'm really excited about the test. We don't get test matches very often, and I think that England v Australia at Taunton, which is a great ground for women's cricket, and we know the town of Taunton quite well, having spent quite a lot of time there in the last couple of summers. So it'll be great to spend some more time there, and just to see the players playing a test. They love it, and it's so exciting. It's just feeling like nothing else. So I'm really excited about that. What are you excited about, Sid?
Well, the test should be really good. I think Taunton's a really good venue for it. I think we're pretty confident we're going to get a good pitch. There'll hopefully be lots of runs in it, and I think that with the test in particular, we've got a kind of a generation of players that now have played. It feels like they've played a few tests now. Obviously nothing like as many compared to the men, but I think that we'll hopefully see a bit more proper test match cricket kind of attitude from the England and Australian players as this generation kind of hopefully comes to terms a bit more with what test cricket really means. So I think that's going to be a good day, or a good 4 days.
Yeah, hopefully 4 days.
The other thing that I'm actually looking forward to, which is going to sound a little bit odd, but I'm looking forward to seeing what the ECB does with the 100. That it hasn't been something that we've necessarily massively backed, but it's happening, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they pursue their goal, how things pan out, how the teams pan out, the decisions that are made. These sorts of things are all hopefully going to come out over the next year, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the structure is going to look like in the future, and what those teams are going to look like.
Kind of be interesting to see. Okay, that's interesting. Right. Oh, this possibly relates to what you've just said. What was the worst moment of the year?
Well, so in about April or so,
It was April.
there was a press release from the ECB, and I was sitting writing at my desk, and a notification popped up, and I scanned the first couple of lines of the email, and it said, 100 ball cricket, and I was like, oh, okay, it's some new recreational format, alongside quick cricket and stuff for the kids or something like that, and I just deleted it, and I was like, okay, I'll think about that later, and then about half an hour later, you phoned up, and you were like, have you seen that press release? And I was like, oh yeah, but it was just boring. It was just some recreational format. And then Raf was like...
I said, I think maybe you better reread it, Sid. Because
so I went back and retrieved it from my deleted items. And I was genuinely flabbergasted by it.
Bit of a bombshell, wasn't it?
I've just said that we've kind of come to terms with the 100 as a format. But it just felt like not right. And I still don't quite know what to say about it. I mean, I feel like I've accepted it. I feel like it's something that's going to happen, and it's something that we have to get behind because it's what is going to be there. But I still find it very difficult to justify the 100 ball format. I feel my heart's not in it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think on the one hand we're very sad to see the back of the Super League because that's just been such a massive success for the women's game. On the other hand, we kind of accepted that was inevitable and that they were going to push ahead with this model of the women's teams being aligned with the men's teams, but then to have to for it to be a whole different format and suddenly the whole future of women's domestic T20 cricket to be kind of called into question was quite difficult. So anyway, we said all that at the time, and we'll just have to see how it pans out, I guess. Okay?
Yeah. Oh, what's the best article that you've read this year? What's been your favourite read this year?
Probably another one on the 100. I think Jonathan Liu, in his piece where he compared the 100, I think he said it was cricket's Brexit moment, and that was just a very clever metaphor for something that seemed to have been launched with no real thought to, or seemed to have been launched with no real thought as to how it was going to pan out, and sort of being announced kind of hastily, and then having to suddenly go, oh, how is it? What is it actually going to look like? And that felt like a really, really good metaphor.
Okay.
Right, we've now got some questions from you guys from Twitter. How do you think? Oh, this is Michael Hughes at RubberRing72. How do you think the women's county setup will look from 2020, from the junior girls pathway upwards?
Well, I guess the big question is whether a county setup at all remains. And I don't think it's a massive secret that there are people in the ECB that would feel that their lives would be much easier if they didn't have a county structure to deal with, if they had a much more limited set of regional centres. We have seen regional development centres set up, partly based around the Kia Super League hubs over the last couple of years. And I think the feeling is that in terms of starting to produce the next generation of England players, the people who are going to be playing for England in 10 years' time, that these have been actually reasonably successful. And so, but will county continue to exist? Well, the trouble is that you might not want to start from here, but it's what we've got. And I think that it's going to be quite difficult to just throw out all the county stuff. As I've said many times before, the trouble is that you've got an awful lot of knowledge within the counties, you've got a lot of existing structures. If you just throw out all that stuff and try and rebuild it completely new, you've got to do all that rebuilding yourself. And a lot of stuff that's been done by volunteers, a lot of people that are currently working effectively on an almost voluntary basis. You've got people that are being paid quite minimal expenses to do stuff within the county structures, and those people aren't necessarily going to be prepared to come and do the same kind of work for the same kind of non-existent pay outside of the county structures. So I think that the ECB perhaps would like to move to more of a regional setup for almost everything, but whether that's really realistic, we do see an awful lot of the ECB going, we're going to do this, and then when it actually hit up against the walls of reality, it becomes...
we're talking 18 months' time for the 2020 season to start. That's not a lot of time to put into place a whole new structure that doesn't involve the counties. I can't see it happening myself. I don't think they've got enough time, personally. Okay, let's leave that there. Jamie Ramage at Famous Strauss says, will England make any more bold selections in an Ashes year, or was the World T20 an exception?
Well, we saw, what did we see in the end last year? 6 new caps?
It was 6,
Over the course of the year, we saw 3 new caps in India at the beginning of the year, and then 3 new caps at the World 2020. I was, as I said at the time, really surprised to see new caps at the World 2020. But they were bold selections, and they were the bold selections we would have been calling for, actually. If England had played a more traditional side, if they hadn't made those 3 new selections, then what we'd have been doing now is we've been sitting here going,
call up
really is
Gordon.
Call up Kirsty Gordon and call up Sophia Dunkley. So I suspect that we won't see any kind of bold selections. There are people we might see. Still hope we might see Freya Davis be able to pull on the England shirt next year. Well,
yeah, especially if Catherine Brunt. It partly depends what happens with Catherine Brunt's return to fitness, doesn't it? So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Yeah,
but we're to kind of keep ringing the same bell, pun intended. Lauren Bell would be the bold selection, and she'd probably be the selection the Australians would make, because the Australians seem to like picking very young, fast bowlers. But what the Australians seem to do is like picking young, fast bowlers before they're ready. Lauren Bell would be a brave selection, but I don't think she's ready yet. And it would be the right thing to do to keep her playing in the academy, and maybe for her to play some of the academy or A games, in the warm-ups and things, and to keep her development. And bear in mind that what's really important is the long term. That we want her to have a career from the ages of 20 to 32 or something, not a career from the ages of 17 to 19, as some of these Australian fast bowlers seem to have been, pushed in.
Okay. Diane Valley at How's That Diane? When do you think women will be allowed, in inverted commas, by the men who run the game to play more tests as we did in the old days, this century or the next? I think that's a bit of a joke. So I'm going to step in here and say that while I really hate the current situation, it does look unlikely that we're going to see suddenly an influx of more women's tests. We've obviously got the one-off Ashes one every couple of years at the moment, and that's kind of what we've been reduced to. And in the last women's test at Sydney in end of 2017, Belinda Clark went live on air, speaking on behalf of the ICC, essentially saying that they just don't see it as the future. I think she said something like women's test cricket doesn't hold a place in people's hearts, which is complete rubbish because it clearly does, and it clearly does hold a place in the players' hearts particularly, but I'm not optimistic about there being an expansion.
Yeah, interestingly, I was reading been reading a book called The Fire Burns Blue about the history of Indian women's cricket.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a suggestion in there that the Indians would actually, the BCCI are in favour of playing more tests. We know the BCCI played that one-off test against South Africa, but the suggestion in there is that the BCCI have tried to persuade other boards to play tests in India, and the other boards have been reluctant, but the BCCI has actually been behind it, surprisingly enough. So, maybe there still is hope that more tests will come through. I'd still really like, ultimately, the way to do it is to fold everything in together, and in the same way as we're having the ODI series as part of the Women's International Championship, to say to teams, when you play your 3 championship ODIs, you have to play a test as well. And at that point, we'd see an explosion.
Yeah, I think they did try to do that, but the boards were very reluctant. So, anyway, Tony Drake at Tony Drake 18 says, how many franchises will there be in the new county setup, and will they follow the current T21s with a few additional? If so, in what parts of the country? We've sort of covered some of this in what we said about what's going to happen from 2020 onwards, haven't we?
Yeah,
let's keep it brief.
Yeah, I think the answer is that obviously we don't know. The one big question, I think, is whether that they can do something that gives them top-class women's cricket in the West Country. Obviously, the West Country have been very disappointed to have lost out on top-class men's cricket for the 100. Though, of course, they've still got their first-class counties, and the women's have been essentially left with nothing. Can the ECB find a way of kind of fudging that through? It will be good if they can, but we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, and then last couple of questions, which I think are slightly more light-hearted. Martin Wright at Wright Martin K says, "What's your favourite ABBA song?" I think that might have something to do with the hashtag we've been using, which is #AskShare.
I was thoroughly confused for this because I didn't watch Mamma Mia 2 on the plane to the World 2020, but I believe you did, Raf.
I did.
And you enjoyed it.
It was awful, but in a great way. Yeah. So
what is your favourite ABBA song? Oh, you've been put on the spot now, Raf.
My favourite ABBA song is probably SOS, which you didn't even know until recently.
Okay, mine's Waterloo. There you go. I've come out and said it.
Okay. And UK Crunch at UK_Crunch asks us, what is our best cocktail of 2018? Now, I believe that this may have something to do with the fact that we spent 3 weeks in the Caribbean with UK Crunch, aka Ruth, and I possibly indulged in a few cocktails while we were out there. So I'm going to say that my favourite cocktail was the frozen pina colada I had in the Naked Fisherman on St Lucia, which is a very, very nice beachside restaurant.
It was lovely, and the Naked Fisherman was lovely too.
What was your favourite cocktail of the year, Sid?
I'm more of a beer kind of a guy, Raf.
Clearly. Anyway, that's that from us. Hope you have a great new year and see you in 2019.
Happy New Year.